Wherever you are in the world. Let's get started. We have a lot of news to not report, meaning we have not a lot of news to report because this whole big Bibi Netanyahu trip to DC has kind of like fizzled out, like a very, very disappointing. Disappointing only in terms of the fact that everything that, like, of all of the hullabaloo and the hype surrounding this, all sorts of deals were going to be made, and nothing. We've heard nothing. He's been there. I think he left Sunday, and today is Thursday, and I think he's still there, and we got nothing. We got nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about, which is a perfect time to do a live, right? When you've got nothing to talk about. Trust me, this nothing to talk about might last 30 to 40 minutes. But anyway, here we go. Let's get started. First of all, if you are wherever you're joining from, if you want to say hi and let me know where you're from, where you're joining from. And also, if you have any questions, and if I don't catch the questions on the live, I will try, I will open up Facebook eventually in between this, because the weekend's coming up and kids and craziness and whatever, and try to answer them, or if I have an answer, that is. So anyway, crazy stuff today in the Middle East. Really kind of quiet, except for at 5:20 in the morning, when apparently in other parts of Israel, sirens went off today because the Houthis are still at it. Like, nobody else is at it right now. Well, I know Hamas is still at it. We'll get to that too. And Israel's still at it. But the Houthis are still launching ballistic missiles from Yemen. And not only that, because, that happened, and I guess it took a lot of people by surprise. Apparently, my daughter slept at a friend's house last night, and they slept on the trampoline outside the house, and she woke up watching the missile fly overhead. Now, we didn't have sirens, but she watched the missile. So anyway, that was very interesting. But also, all right, but the Houthis, going back to the Houthis, so there they are in the Red Sea. They shot and they attacked two ships this week and sank them both. They are claiming, and they have videos, grandiose videos of sinking these ships. They go out there warning the ship. These are commercial ships. These aren't any military, any navy from any country, anywhere in the world. Apparently, both of them were Liberian owned. I think maybe one was Greek owned. In any case, it's foreign crew. Like, they're not all from one country, and they sank both of them. I think in one case, some crew members were also killed. And if they weren't, I don't know what happened. Like, if they were taken by the Houthis, if they got on a raft and got away, I have no idea. Anyway, it's insane that they are going at it down there against just regular commercial ships. So Netanyahu headed to Washington, and from both his side and from Trump's side, there was just a lot of excitement surrounding this trip. Like, first of all, he was going to, Trump had all sorts of deals lined up, including the expansion of the Abraham Accords, which were, going to possibly, they were doling out like all sorts of names of countries, like possibly even Indonesia, maybe Oman, and then the most surprising one, everybody's expecting Saudi Arabia is going to be in it at some point, but then the other one is Syria. The big shock, Syria joining the Abraham Accords. Like, why is that shocking? First of all, even if it was the previous government of Syria, that of course would be extremely shocking. But the current leader of Syria is a leader of a rebel group that had connections with Al Qaeda, that is very fundamentalist Islamic jihad theology, of also killing infidels, very sectarian. No, even among Muslims, if you don't subscribe to their particular Islam, they're upset. So the Alawites, they went after the Alawites. They slaughtered many. They're going after the Christians. They were going after the Druze. So just and Julani, though he's the leader right now, and is being paraded now in the West as somebody who might be a partner for peace. And even Trump said, oh, he's a very, like dapper young man, a good looking young man, and tough guy, been through some tough things. I mean, he's talking about him like some things like that, which is just wasn't he was just like a terrorist. He was just on your terrorist list recently. So, okay. But I was reading an analysis that actually it's only a matter of time for he is deposed, that you may make a deal with him. And I'm also hearing, oh my gosh, some analyst who is an Armenian Christian, but from Syria originally, and now living in Germany. And he was saying that that he calls Julani a Muslim Zionist, and said that his was put in power by Israel and Turkey and all these people that are making deals behind the scenes to bring Syria into the Abraham Accords, to make peace with Israel. I mean, it's crazy stuff. But anyway, I just want to say hi to Laura and to Jacob. And Jacob brings up, I've heard that Armenia could join, and that would be good. I mean, Armenia has relations with Israel, though. They have an ambassador here. They have relations. So it would be good, because economically, like the Abraham Accords has been more of an economic agreement. I mean, because the countries that are currently in the Accords, which is the UAE and Bahrain, they didn't have they didn't have bad relations with Israel, and they don't share a border. So wasn't necessarily a military concern. So that could be great for Armenia in terms of the economic viability for them, what that would do. And I mean, that would be great. And then if they can improve their relations in general, that'd be great. But none of this is happening right now. Oh, hi, Lucas. Welcome back. But none of this is happening. And that's the crazy thing, is that Netanyahu has been away from the country. He's been over there. So another thing they were talking about was a ceasefire in Gaza. So Hamas, has put in their petition, like they responded to a proposal and they put in their objections, and then also Israel did. And so the negotiators were working on that to, bring a ceasefire in Gaza. The war there has just it's still going on, devastating, obviously for the Palestinians, also for the Israelis. 6 soldiers were killed just in the last couple of days. I think in 2 days. In fact, the soldier that was killed today he was going to be abducted. Like the Hamas had him, and they were trying to abduct him. And what I heard is that possibly the other soldiers just shot all of them, like the abductors and the soldier, because that would just be crazy if in this stage of the game, if they had yet another hostage. And actually I hear that is possibly the MO right now of Hamas, is to even get live soldiers, Israeli soldiers, and to hold them as hostages, because they're going to need more power negotiating. There are currently 50 hostages, some of whom are already known to have been killed, and even from October 7th. They were already killed. Their bodies were kidnapped. So there's at around 20 that are confirmed to be alive, or were anyway, and nobody knows. We haven't heard anything in days. Um, so it's all right, Tony. It's my show, so I'm not ruining somebody else's broadcast. Daniel, do you want to just come and say hi since everybody can hear you anyway?
Hi.
Hi. Okay. All right. Now, good. So there, but all of the imminence about this deal is not happening. It's all right. What are you trying to do?
Turn on this one. I forgot to.
It's on the other side. How long have you lived in this house, Lucas?
A couple years.
13 years? Yeah, and he doesn't know what light is. That's awesome. That's hilarious.
Are we on there?
No, I don't know if they're. Why don't you text them and tell them to get on?
I mean,
Text them for 2 seconds. I know you're on your phone anyway. Okay, so there's no talk of Abraham Accords, which would have been a little awkward anyway if Syria with this newly installed government was there. That would be very weird. There no Abraham Accords, no ceasefire in Gaza. There's a lot of issues there that would prevent a ceasefire anyway, and no hostage deal. Like the ceasefire would include a hostage deal, and none of that. So what's happening in Washington? Well, the first day that he was there in meetings there, Netanyahu announced that he has nominated President Trump for a Nobel Prize. And he surprised Trump by saying that. And so that was number one. He also gave Trump a gift, which like a model of a B-2 bomber, which Trump used in the attacks against Iran, Iranian nuclear sites. That this B-2 model was made of an Iranian missile that landed in Israel. So that was clever, I guess. And the other thing that they did today, Netanyahu met with Israeli families of hostages. Can you please call Raya back? Give this to somebody. Silly. All right. Yeah. Children calling. And hello, Tammy, by the way. Okay. So where was that? Oh, so then he had the Israeli hostage families visiting him at the White House and spoke with them. He also spoke with, he also attended a memorial today for an Israeli man who was murdered in D.C. He and his girlfriend, they both of them were Jewish, and they had a memorial for them. So it was Yoron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgren. And they were, thank you. They were killed outside the museum. I think is there the Holocaust Museum or something in D.C. They were killed there, and by a gunman who was shouting "Free Palestine." The Yoron lived in Jerusalem, and we have a lot of mutual acquaintances. And apparently, he was going to be proposing to Sarah when they were supposed to be coming to Israel. To visit and for her to meet his family for the first time. But also she worked for peace. You know, she had all sorts of, she was heavily involved in bridge building and coexistence, exercise, like just adventures to get Israelis and Palestinians to meet and to build meaningful relationships, which would hopefully lead to peace. But she was murdered, and they were both in their 20s. So anyway, so that's what they did today in DC. These leaders, what they did today. Now, okay, now I've got Debbie. That you need a food tour. So peace. Now, Debbie, guess what? You can come here anyway. People are flying. There are some airlines flying, and it is very peaceful in Jerusalem. And I will be so happy to give you a food tour or an Armenian heritage tour or an old city generations tour where you can meet the people who represent generations of Jerusalemites and their very intriguing and amazing history. And we actually did recently, I think we had two separate not groups, but like, a couple people that we took on these tours actually. And I was like, oh, I remember when we wanted to do this, and it was just, we loved it. But what I loved most about doing this tour and bringing these guys to my favorite hummus place and for them eating there, it wasn't so much like just doing the tour, but it was, their reaction. Like, even there are two guys that live in Israel, and one that was even born here, born in Jerusalem, and the other one that moved here about 5 years ago. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best hummus I ever had. Or going to another site where they were like, wow, I never knew about this, or I never saw this before, I never heard this before. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's right. That's why it's like exactly that reaction that gives me that feeling that made me think in the first place, we've got to do these tours. But anyway, I digress from the news. But Tammy, it is very cool. And you let me know when you come back to Jerusalem, because you should do a tour. And Debbie, come do a tour. Come back. You can come back. It's perfectly safe. Meanwhile, like, we're all trying to get out. Um, Only because it's been a while. We're bored. Okay. All right. What else was I going to tell you? In the last couple days, I have some other things I was going to talk about. Yes, I wanted to talk to you about. So anyway, the Gaza humanitarian aid crisis goes on and on. And it's like, who do you believe? You read one article that says that this aid group, now it's called the Gaza Humanitarian Fund. It's run by an evangelical Christian in the U.S., Johnny Moore. And you will read that that it's a disaster, that they don't know what they're doing, they don't know how to distribute aid, and that it's leading to so many deaths of Gazans. Also, like, one guy who worked there but left accused the organization of how they're mistreating the Palestinians, and so it's just been like a total. Just a total disaster. Also, the Israeli soldiers are shooting people that are going to the aid sites. Why? Different reasons, under investigation, etc. But also Hamas is shooting people going to the aid sites or coming from the aid sites. And so dozens, you can easily have in one day that dozens will be killed, whether it's connected to the aid or other issues, also other, attacks in Gaza and stuff. And also, like I said, it's been pretty deadly lately for the Israeli soldiers. Like, as much as Israel says that it has control of various parts of Gaza, there's still not enough control where you can say that they're just walking there in complete safety, because they were ambushed at least twice this week that we know of. So, but anyway. So the Gaza aid, and then on the other hand, you hear from the organization how well it's run. They just shared pictures of their workers who are, I think a lot of them are former military, who are now working as civilians, but that are facilitating the aid. And there's pictures of them handing food and water to the people, and having, like, one is holding like a little girl, and like all these wonderful looking pictures. So there's just a lot of misinformation surrounding this whole thing, because we don't know. It's only two narratives coming out of this, and you either are going to believe one or the other. And it's very hard to find the truth of what's happening there. People will say that there's starvation and there's famine, and other people will say, no, there can't be, because look at these pictures of the food at the market. And again, it's like, both could be true, actually. So anyway, well, Laura says propaganda, but there is truth in it. Now, I'm connected to a Christian organization that tries to get connected to. I'm sorry, I follow a Christian organization, and I'm in touch with the head of it. They are getting aid into Gaza, and I'll read you a little bit about what they said this week. Well, when they go, they bring hot meals to distribute, and so they said when they brought the food, this one man um, was on the ground shouting, "I haven't eaten in 3 days," and and then another couple describes the suffering they are facing due to the shortages, the severe malnutrition, and then they're saying that sometimes the most basic staples like flowers are infested with insects and worms. People are reporting dizziness, fainting, intestinal problems due to the lack of clean food, nutritious food, and generally the lack of food. And inside the church, a lot of people are sheltering in the churches as opposed to at home if they have a home, but they're anyway staying at the church. Many have not left the compound for days because of fighting that's nearby. And then the numbers that they put out are that just in the recent just since I think this whole humanitarian aid was set up, 600 people have been killed and thousands injured trying to get this aid. Now, another thing, Israel, the Israeli defense minister just floated this idea that Israel is planning to establish a humanitarian city in Rafah, which is southern Gaza, right, bordering with Egypt. And they have now, Israel created a corridor just north of Rafah, and it's called the Morag corridor. And Israel controls, I should have had a map, but it's just a very small part of southern Gaza, but Israel controls that whole part. So they said that he said, we're going to establish a humanitarian city there. And another thing that Israel is doing is they're actually using a local clan, I think it's Abu Shabab, they're using them against Hamas. Like this is a group that may have already been like kind of a competition for Hamas, and so Israel is using them to do some of the policing for rather than the soldiers doing it. So, all right. What else? Do you guys have any questions? I'm trying to see if. I want to tell you. Going back to Gaza, I got to tell you a story because I work with somebody who has a very big heart. And anyway, she saw a picture of baby Abdullah in Gaza. She saw this picture, this baby, and he has a condition. I don't know if she writes what it is. It's a brain condition, and he was born this way. He's 2 months old. He needed urgent surgery, and he got surgery in Gaza. But then he has, I think the whatever the stent that they put in is infected. So it's like they need to get him out immediately. They need to get him to a hospital for serious surgery. The hospitals there are not equipped for these cases. Now, she works in humanitarian aid. She's an Arab Christian. She works in humanitarian aid. And this picture of this baby popped up on her Instagram feed. And she said that for days she couldn't sleep. She couldn't get this picture out of her mind. She had decided, I have to try to help this baby. And the organization she works for is not able to directly help anybody in Gaza. There's no connections, no contacts, no nothing. But she kept digging and kept asking. And she found a man who in Jerusalem, Jonathan, I don't remember his last name, has connections. He used to get surgery for Gazan children in Israel. Like he would bring them to Israel for life-saving surgeries, and he worked on the permits, the transportation, everything, just to get them their surgery. So since October 7th, that's been completely shut down. Nobody's getting out. Nobody's getting into Israel. Not one Gazan is getting into Israel for any kind of surgery. But because of his connections, he was trying to help get them out to another country. So she came. So she got in touch with him, and he started working on it. He actually got the mother's number, and then she says, my friend says that he's well, all right. He started working on getting the family out and got all the paperwork, and then he gave my friend the mother's number, and she said, this morning I spoke with Abdullah's mother to check on his condition. She was so kind and thankful for my concern. I asked her to send all the documents and information that Jonathan had requested so that we can do our best to move things forward. um, Abdullah's story is one of many. He is just a tiny baby born into a very hard situation, but he still has hope. With love, care, and the right support, he might have a chance to live, grow, and thrive just like every child deserves. So, anyway, there is one amazing story. And I said to her, I said, with all, with the death toll of 50,000, I said, you have focused in on and obsessed with this one life that you want to save. And I said, in some ways isn't that like, it seems like just a drop in the bucket, but isn't that what Jesus said, to go after the one? So I was like, go for it. More power to you. So I'll keep you posted on that. And I hope we hear something in the next couple of days. Okay. What else in the news? Like I said, almost nothing, because they're not making any deals. I don't know what these guys are doing over here in DC, but we were expecting deals. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to go check out new restaurants in DC. Like, why would they be there for so long? Last but not least, I will hope I don't get banned for talking about this, and I won't go into too much detail because number one, I have kids in the apartment, but no Israeli commission decided to research the sex crimes of October 7th, and so they interviewed survivors of people who were hostages who got out, survivors of the October 7th, like most of the stuff that took place, like at the Nova Music Festival, and also other witnesses, and they have determined that rape, gang rape, and genital mutilation was used broadly as a crime during the October 7th atrocities. They have 15 documented cases. 4 involved gang rape, and then almost all of them involved execution immediately after or before the rape. So they put that out this week, and they said that the point of this is to be able to use it in the ICC, in the International Criminal Court, and as if this ever comes up as something that they would actually be able to prosecute. So anyway, so that what made international headlines this week, this report. Now, interestingly enough, I was, just before I decided to do this live, I was listening to somebody who has very good perspectives on what's happening in Syria. He has very good information, but is extremely anti-Israel as well. And he and his guests were talking about systemic rape that occurs in Israeli prisons by Israelis against Palestinians. They didn't cite any sources for that, and also some of the things they said were extremely inaccurate. For instance, that Israelis don't protest that or aren't against that, because that is patently untrue, because the Israelis pretty much protest everything, and especially if it would work against the current government, they're protesting every week. So there was the case of Sde Timan, which is a prison where there was rape of Palestinian prisoners. There like that is being prosecuted right now, and so anyway, it was just like you read this one report one day, and a couple days later I hear these guys talking, and I'm just like, it's like alternate universes, as if both cannot exist in the same world, but they do. So but anyway, also I think a lot of what they were saying was unsourced, if not probably exaggerated, if not true, false completely. So just crazy, the things that you might be exposed to around here. But anyway, so that is it for me. I'm trying to see if anything's popped up. Nope, no news. No news.
Okay.
Will Netanyahu be back tomorrow night before Shabbat, or is he going to be out there another day in DC with no deal? No deal, no nothing. There's stuff going on with Lebanon. What's going on with Lebanon? They're trying to get Hezbollah to disarm, but nah, not quite. I don't, that's not quite happening exactly straightforward. And what else? I don't know. So I guess that's it for now. Thank you for joining. I told you a lot of nothing was going to take me 30 minutes, and it did. But anyway, maybe there'll be something to say another day, but not so much today. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned.